2025 has been a test for fuel retailers. New challenges like increasing operating costs and new opportunities with EV charging and customer loyalty initiatives are transforming the industry. But knowing exactly how leaders are approaching these changes can be challenging beyond your own network, and that's where DFS stepped in to help. In partnership with NACS Research, we did the digging and asked fuel retailers how they are competing, growing, and evolving in the coming years, and the results were telling. Welcome to the Fueling the Future podcast with DFS. I'm Amy Cearley, and for today's episode, we'll be diving into the 2026 Retail Rewired Fuel and Convenience Trends Report with actionable advice from some of DFS's most trusted leaders. So with that, let's get started. Joining me today for the podcast, we have Kendra Keller, Vice President and GM of North America. Thank you, Kendra, for being here.
Thank you.
We have Scott Negley, Senior Director of Forecourt Products. We have Matt James, Senior Director of Connected Solutions. Thank you guys so much for joining.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Are we ready to kick it off?
Let's go.
Ready.
Okay.
Ready.
So one of the biggest pain points we discovered in this survey was the pressure retailers feel to cut costs, with 1 in 2 leaders citing high operating costs as one of the major hurdles as of lately. Cutting costs certainly isn't a new priority, but how does this business environment compare to the past squeezes you've seen in the industry, and how are you seeing retailers adapt?
So I'll jump out first. Ladies first.
Ladies
Yes.
first.
Because I was thinking about this, to me, in the past, when we've experienced a lot of companies focused on cost cutting, it's been in a depressed market. And so it's been more about just trying to make ends meet. And how are we going to hit the financial commitments we have, or maybe we're going to have layoffs. How do we just make sure we can survive? Whereas this time, it feels much more that there's a lot of growth in our market. There's acquisitions that are happening. There's new sites being built, all the time. So there's investment. Whereas before, there wasn't a lot of capital investment. Now people are willing to invest to find opportunities to take costs out. So driving efficiencies, making their sites more operational and taking costs out that way, even if it requires an investment, which is not something that necessarily I think we've seen in the past. That's just my observation.
Yeah, I would agree. I think there's a lot more technology options out there for retailers to take advantage of. So, costs are just simply increasing. But if you have options to do remote monitoring, or to do a self-checkout aisle, or some way to tap into technology to optimize the site, reduce the amount of times a person would have to go to the site to fix something. This is just there's more options out there for retailers to take advantage of. So you can make the investment. It can be a long-term investment, but they can see some really near-term returns on that as well.
Yeah, I would say the need to take cost out hasn't changed over the years. I think that the market dynamics and that do change, and that retailers face today. I mean, you're still coming out of a COVID situation, for example, where we still haven't recovered. The labor market still hasn't, I don't think, rebounded from where it was back then, and so that's a factor. You have supply chain constraints and challenges that have been there that are affecting the entire industry. You have the advent of AI and what that does to data centers, and the cost of utilities and electricity and all the other things that are happening. So it's a continuing, I think, evolving situation when it comes. And now we have a few more variables to deal with. But the good news is, based on what you guys were saying, there's technology and there's applications out there that can help address that.
On the line of addressing these higher costs and dynamic market situations, as you mentioned, retailers are harnessing their data. I mean, we hear this a lot, right? Data. We want to see the data drive better decisions, preventative maintenance. But 62% of retailers say that using data to cut waste or shrink was one of the most effective cost reduction strategies in this past year. So I'm curious from the group, what methods have you seen retailers using to incorporate data analysis into their operations?
Yeah, one of the big ones I would say for sure that we've seen in our remote monitoring technologies is around like fuel filters. So if you're having a slow flow at the pump, instead of just sending out a tech to every site and saying, okay, every 6 months we're going to do this, you could be much more targeted about it and actually take care of a particular site or even a specific fueling point one at a time instead of just wholesale doing it across the board. Other ways are again having the data to give you that notification ahead of time, so you're not waiting for a customer to come inside and make the complaint, and then taking advantage of the remotely connected solution to be able to maybe reboot the device or otherwise fix the problem remotely without having to send somebody on site. So using that data wisely, having someone monitoring it, and then taking some sort of proactive action about it just really can add up in the savings.
Yeah, and I mean, we've had customers tell us for a while, why can't, if a car can give you a light, an indicator of something that's going to go wrong on the car, and there's tools that you can plug into your car and it can tell you what's wrong and how you should troubleshoot it, why can't you do that with your equipment? And so I think that's what our market and our customers are expecting. I mean, it's the main reason that we looked at SiteIQ. Is because we knew that was something that our customers need. They want not only a way to be able to use the data to tell them what should we do with it, but then take it a step further and make it actionable. Make it something where, better yet, why don't you just fix it before I even know about it?
Before there's even an issue.
Exactly.
Right. Another 43% of retailers say that adopting preventative maintenance solutions, which often rely heavily on data collection, preventative analytics, and automation, has been key to cutting costs. So I'm curious how important this technology for successful preventative maintenances are, and are there upgrades required as part of this?
Yeah, no, it's yes, there can be some upgrades that are required. So, I mean, if you have a device or a fuel dispenser that, I mean, you need to have the data. It needs to be communicating it somehow, communicating it out the data. So if it's a really old dispenser, maybe it doesn't have the right sensors inside of it or the right data to be able to be pushed to a person or a technology that's listening for it. So it is critical to have. It doesn't necessarily have to be the absolute latest and greatest, but the more recent technology that we release, the more smarts it has in it, the more we're able to do preventive maintenance, and then the more we're able to do remotely to fix it, whether it's a human intervening to fix it or even automating that fix alone, so that no one has to look at it. We've talked to a lot of retailers that would gladly just take a fix without anyone ever having to touch it whatsoever.
Seamless fix.
Yeah. They didn't even know it was a problem, and all of a sudden it is fixed. So it sort of wasn't ever a problem, which is a great solution overall.
Ideal scenario for sure. Okay, taking a little bit of a transition to some tech upgrades. So what we saw from respondents was that tech was not being used to improve efficiency, but also to drive loyalty initiatives and therefore boost revenue. The top 3 technology upgrades that retailers have their eyes on are their loyalty and rewards, their food service equipment, and their promotion and advertising technology. So how are each of you seeing new tech used across the forecourt, and which upgrades do you anticipate to be most effective for retailers?
I mean, I think without question, the loyalty question keeps coming up time and again with so many different customers. It is very much front of mind with all of the major retailers that we talk about in terms of how do they increase the value of their brand and their offer to their customers. And not only is that a retention play, but it's also how do I get new customers, and what are the ways I can use to reach out to achieve those loyalty objectives. And so we've seen a lot of that and one of the obvious ones there is promotion and how you can present, the user experience and what that messaging you get to your customer with a transaction. So that's been a very big deal, and I think we have seen already the value of going to something like a larger screen with imagining via DX Promote and tying loyalty messages into that have reaped all kinds of benefits for retailers who are taking advantage of that.
Yeah, I mean, I think customer acquisition costs are real, and I think people have to figure out how are you going to keep your customers coming back. And you either have to somehow make that consumer experience better than the guy next door. Again, we have a 27-inch if you're looking for something that drives that kind of experience.
Really good size.
But
really good size.
Something that's different than the other person, and something that whether it's a targeted experience for them, whether it's a seamless experience, it needs to work when you show up. It needs to be effortless. When you lose a customer, it's hard to get them back.
Yep.
Our time is precious.
Yep.
We all have to get fuel. So how do we make it, I think we've heard you say, Scott,
Take the stress out of what is
stress,
considered a
yes.
stressful purchase?
Exactly.
Distressed purchase? Yes.
So I think that's the key. I think it's too expensive whenever you lose a customer. So if there's a way technology can help you, that's what customers are looking for.
Well, and clearly they're open to it, right? So how do you take advantage of that?
Yeah, exactly.
One of the equipment upgrades that we saw retailers are planning to make is their point of sale system, with 1 in 4 making the switch within the next 2 years. The point of sale is one of the most central devices used in every C-store, but it's not customer facing. That said, how much impact can a POS system have on customers, employees, and also business as a whole?
Yeah. Well, I think the first thing, and Scott mentioned it earlier, and it's true, even though it feels like the pandemic was so long ago, labor rates have never returned. It is still hard to get. I mean, we struggle with that sometimes here, and I don't know if that's ever going to change. So I think there's always turnover, no matter what field you're in. So whatever point of sale that a customer is looking at, it needs to be something that's easy. And I think that's the key. It can't be so complicated because you're going to have. It's going to be a constant learning curve. You're going to have to train over and over. So when you talk about, yes, it's something that the cashier has to work with, first and foremost, it has to be something that's easy to use. It checks all the boxes and it's just something that's user friendly. But I think there's so much more that it could do because, we recently at NACS had promotions where you could have a purchase outside, bring a QR code inside and be able to get a discount on products. I think it's important that the point of sale is looked at more than just someone that's going to, a tool that's used to check out people in the store.
Right.
Technology's tied to it.
Yeah, it's a critical part of the customer journey, and there is a customer-facing element to it. There is that customer display screen. And back to loyalty, I mean, a great loyalty strategy will tie into that. So whether you're at the forecourt earning points or rewards, and same thing inside, our customers know that if they have a customer in their loyalty program, they're going to spend more. They're going to get a larger, share of wallet when they show up at that store. They're going to come back more repeated times. And it's an opportunity to leverage data to provide them upsell opportunities right at that point of sale. I think also you want that transaction to go quickly. So you don't want to scan your card and be sitting there for quite a while and then awkwardly saying like, how long is this going to take before it actually accepts my credit card? So it is a critical part of that overall customer journey, and you want it to be seamless. You want it to be frictionless, but also leverage the data. Do some upsell opportunities as well.
It truly is at the core, right?
Yeah.
And I think if you think about the point of sale is the hub of everything that's happening at the site. I mean, it's controlling the forecourt, it's controlling the back office, it's managing the transactions in the store. So it's central to the operation of a site. And I think what you're finding now is that the IT players at these companies are also wanting to be able the flexibility to be able to do more. I think the traditional model that has existed for years, where you're sort of beholden to the different point of sale companies to say, look, we want to do this loyalty promotion, or we want to be able to do this other type of feature and add this to our application, or change providers, from a payment standpoint. Those days, I think, are getting beyond it. They want to have more control. They want to be a little bit more autonomous in their approach. And so they're looking for vendors who can help them to that end and help them achieve a better transaction speed. Help them be so that they can control their own domain when it comes to making changes to whatever campaigns they're trying to do. So that's we've seen that a marked increase in a lot of accounts where the IT folks are really looking for that type of advantage.
Do you think that's what's driving kind of this 1 in 4 want to make that switch in the next 2 years?
To be honest, that number surprised me. I did not expect it to be, and because you think you have the infrastructure out there, which is kind of the traditional companies that have done their own thing, but there's compliance issues. There's, obviously these campaign issues, and they want to be able to kind of change their approach, go to a more virtual type of application. That's a big mover right now in terms of, I want to be less hardware centric and put more things in the cloud. And if you're not going to be able, if you can't accommodate that, I think they're going to start looking other places.
Well, they don't want to have to do hardware replacements over and over.
No.
And I do think the 1 in 4 has to also be tied to when the EMV in-store mandate deadline was, because this
Driving
is
some of
about
that.
that time when those replacements would be coming in. So there's probably part of that that's just timing, because it's been that long since that was required. But I do think as they go to the next one, they're thinking, I don't want to have to keep replacing
Right.
this. So cloud-based, I think, is super
Yeah.
important.
Yeah, what's going to be the most sustainable? Okay, switching gears a little bit to loyalty. 60% or 60% surveyed said they're prioritizing improvements to customer loyalty and retention in the near future to grow profits. How important would you say repeat business is to retailers now? And what are the best ways to build those relationships?
Yeah, I think it's hugely important. I mean, we're seeing a lot of consolidation in the industry. So a lot of big C-store retail chains that are buying up smaller ones. So they're kind of competing on a national level with each other at this point. Some of the larger chains. So the more that they can get customers coming back, get all of us coming back to the same stores, the better. And not only is it the fuel, but then it's all the in-store items. So building a loyalty program, if I know I'm going to get even something back for all the time and money that I'm putting into my car at a particular site, is great. Or even if I'm getting loyalty benefits from buying stuff in store, so that doesn't necessarily have to be just fuel. So yeah, it's hugely important for them. I think you want a great experience not just at the pump but also inside. Again, those are both touch points. And then how do I give benefits for it? So we've definitely heard, we talked about loyalty already, but yeah, we definitely heard our customers that they know that this is a foundational element to growing their business, getting the customers to come back, not only in their city or their go-to location, but when they're on the road and other places as well.
Agreed.
I mean, to that other point, I think that if you think about in the last 4 or 5 years, the fuel margins have gone up. So fuel margins represent about 2/3 of the revenue that a store will pick up during the year. While the earnings, they make more money. The margins are higher. I mean, I should say fuel revenue, not fuel margins, are 2/3. More margin on the indoor side. So if you see those numbers, you want to be able to make sure you're going to keep them and maybe even grow them. So there's even more of an incentive to be able to do that. And so they're trying to make sure that they're going to grow their share and make sure that from again, they're trying to, the cost piece we talked about earlier, but this is another way that, and we as consumers have far more selections than we ever had before. And so how do I make my offer, my brand, more compelling so that you will keep coming back? Because you can go to too many other options to go see.
Yeah, you almost have to anticipate what does your consumer care about.
Yep.
And it's not one thing.
Right.
So how do you make sure that your site can provide whatever those
Right.
multiple things are that consumers really care about?
Right, exactly. Okay, moving into EV charging, which has been a hot topic as of lately, but the survey results indicate that 84% of these retail leaders place EV charging in their long-term strategy, but clearly not all of them have made the investment yet. What challenges do you see retailers facing with these projects, and what do you suggest retailers prioritize to realize their goals?
I mean, first and foremost, they have to understand there's been a very changing market landscape when it comes to regulation, when it comes to grants, when it comes to even the different policies that some of the regional bodies or the states have put in terms of their basically their position on EV. But you have to understand, so how do I also, in the fuel market, we've had a very, very established model for decades where I fully understand the return on my investment if I put in a gas station. I know my customer base, I know what my margins are going to be, I know what the business model is. Not so much with EVs. It's a very, very different, it's kind of the Wild West right now in terms of trying to figure that part out. It's going to happen, but I think there's some reluctance, I think, just because of that, how do I make money at this? It's a very expensive proposition, especially with, you have to consider the grants. I think what we're starting to see, though, because there's an understanding that it's not going away. The OEMs are making EVs and they're going to keep making EVs, and there's going to be infrastructure needed. And so the best thing that they're doing is they're starting to at least prepare sites, even if they may not be ready to take the leap yet, but they're going to be running making sure they have the electric service, running the make-ready things at a site so that they can actually prepare for it when it is ready. And I think you're going to start to see this start to grow over time as this whole, I think market matures.
Yeah, and I mean, if you're a business owner, you have to upfront decide why are you doing it. So if you're doing it for ROI, you're going to have to understand the grant landscape and what subsidies are there from a local and state funding perspective to help you get there, because it is complicated. And I think if you're doing it for loyalty, we talked about customer retention. If you're doing it because that's another way to get customers to come back, or it's one of the needs that you need to be able to provide in order for that to retain that customer, I think that's different. Then it needs to be a pleasant experience. How far away is it going to be from the store? Like, I think there's different considerations based on why are you doing it, and I think that's the first step that a customer has to think about is, if I own a site, why am I doing this?
Why?
And I think if you understand that, then you can go down the right path to get you there.
Yep.
I mean, I think the loyalty point is an interesting one, because if back to that previous discussion about how I want to grow my footprint with more, EV is potentially a threatening aspect to the traditional fuel retailer. But I'm going to have a certain slice of the pie of my customers are now going to buy electric vehicles, and they're no longer going to come to my station. So how do I counteract that? And it's so not only is the EV charging piece there, but I also, back to the loyalty, back to the different campaigns. How do I offer that same Taco Tuesday special that I have for my fuel customers,
Right.
Yeah.
for the EV customers who I don't want to lose?
Right.
And so I think they all fit together when it comes to how do I make sure I am maintaining and potentially growing my base, because the traditional fuel guy may see an opportunity to get, no, I'm going to expand my available market by 5% if I have in market where there's a lot of EVs.
Right.
Well, or you say, really all I care about is the high margin product like you were talking about in your store. That's where all my margin is. I want more EV drivers because they're going to be there for a while. And if I can entice them to go in the store, they're going to buy more than someone who's in a hurry and they're just trying to hurry up, fuel their car, and get out of here in 10 minutes.
Right. Longer idle time.
Yeah,
You
so-
have a more captive audience.
That's why I think that is you may not see the return on investment necessarily on the charger, but you have another value proposition that you have. So
Other avenues.
that's why I think it's really important that the customer understands that up front.
Yeah, understanding it. And for those that have already implemented EV chargers, what opportunities are available to those folks?
I mean, I think that back to what we said. I mean, they're obviously have a chance to grow their customer base, and I think the opportunities there, especially if you start thinking about what we're trying to do with Wayne Power and what we have in the near term roadmap is to be able to offer very many of the same features that we offer, on the traditional fuel models, so that they can, leverage all of the same benefits from, getting, back to the point about driving folks inside the store, getting loyalty. I mean, all of those things I think are in play, and I think that's the value of what we're doing with our position with Wayne Power.
Yeah, I think also, I think it's important for them to understand they're not stuck with the same charger that they bought first. So maybe that didn't work out. Maybe it wasn't the best experience. Maybe they had some maintenance issues with their existing charger. They have the power that's run to the site. They can always upgrade to something that's going to be more reliable, that's going to give them the opportunity to do loyalty. Wayne Power, of course, would be a fantastic choice for that. But that is an opportunity to upgrade, and it doesn't have to be the same charger. Maybe it's slower. Maybe it doesn't have the right connector that is the best for that particular market. So, always opportunities to upgrade.
Yeah, absolutely. Final advice. What is the single most important step you would take in the coming year as a fuel retailer to set yourself up for success?
I mean, I think you have to make sure that there are a lot of options out there, and there's a lot of different technology avenues that you could take, from a pathway standpoint. Be open to adapting. And I think that's what we're seeing. The retailers who are trying to be nimble and think that way and start looking out like with a 5-year view are the ones who will be successful. Start planning your sites to be able to, put higher speed communication out there, wireless communications, running conduit and the groundwork necessarily to support EVs in the future. The ability to sort of adapt on the fly and be open. And that one of the reasons that we even do things around even on the fuel side, this is a shameless plug for our products. But that's why we have, equipment that's listed to E40,
Right.
because we don't know what's gonna change on the fueling landscape. And so be open and willing to be able to make changes so that you can adapt with whatever is to come next.
Right.
Yeah, and on to tag along to that one, I think, Scott, it's being open to technology, because we tend to like be a little behind the times in this industry. And so there's some, I think, retailers that are on the front edge of everything, and they're already experimenting with AI, they're talking about automation. And I know these are also buzzwords, so we can't go crazy, but I think being willing to don't be afraid to try.
Try it. Explore it. Yeah.
Exactly. Because again, it could be the thing that differentiates you from the person across the street. And if loyalty is important, which clearly these results have said, you're going to have to stand out. So I think it's being willing to take a chance.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's clear, doing the best you can out in the forecourt to attract customers in. You've got brand, you've got the loyalty program, and you've got this fantastic forecourt space to attract them in. The way innovation with the Anthem with the 27-inch screen is going to be a great way to do that. But it also helps enable everything we've talked about here. It's a selling machine with the promotions that you can put on there to drive in-store traffic. You can put the loyalty program and integrate it inside of there, and it's a very attractive, like I said, forecourt piece that you can have for people who don't know anything about your brand or your loyalty and just see it on the side. So, and it also enables a lot of remote diagnostics to optimize that, and takes advantage of new technology. So I think, give it a try. That would be the advice. And the new technology is out there to leverage, and it does enable pretty much everything we talked about here today.
I think the thing that, back to what you were just saying about like to say DX Promote and advertising, we made the comment about customers having more selections. Advertisers understand that, and what we're in a unique position in our space, like a retailer has, where you will never have a captive audience for as long as a retailer has their customers standing in front of a dispenser or somewhere adjacent to the dispenser for 2 or 3 minutes, because we're in this very fractured advertising
Very
model
little distractions right there.
with all kinds of attention distractors everywhere. And the realization that this time and the space in front of one of our devices or a dispenser that's showing promotions or ads is invaluable, because they don't get that anymore.
They don't get that anymore.
And we're in a unique position that way to be able to do that.
You also have the unique ability to update on the fly. So you have this super customizable 27-inch screen where if you want to run promotions in the morning for your target audience in the morning who stops and gets coffee or a croissant, you can. But then you have your lunch crowd that's going to swing by and get the hot dog and the soda combo. You have that ability instead of, kind of more traditional advertising that takes time and print costs. It's all digital now.
And wait till Matt gets his camera going with the personalized element to this.
Then it's even
That's
more
that's the next
customizable.
podcast.
It's even
That's
more
right.
customizable. But that's it, right? It's adapting, it's evolving, it's growing, not only from the provider side, but also for customers, just being open to it, to adopt and to just overall enhance their forecourt and their consumer experience, like you said.
Yeah, and I think it doesn't matter, again, what industry you're in. It doesn't matter if you're the fuel retailer or you're the manufacturer. We're all looking at, this is going to be my new term, I might need a shirt made, work smarter, not harder. We're all looking at that.
Yeah.
How can we drive operational efficiencies? How can we drive automation? We need to challenge just because we've done something for 30 years doesn't mean we should do it that way anymore. So I think that we're going to see more and more of that as we come into the next couple of years, where customers have been talking about making a change, but we're going to start seeing more of that because it's time.
More action.
Yeah, exactly.
More action.
I think if you think about, of all the time, I've been here for a few years.
How many?
Longer than me.
Just a few. Never before have we ever had the capabilities, the horsepower, like that we're putting on an island to do the things from a technology standpoint.
Yeah.
Even now, it's fun now, but I think this is just sort of the beginning of the journey, because if you start thinking about AI and IoT and all of the things, whether it's vision systems that we can use in our devices, and think about even voice recognition. That we're just sort of barely scratching the surface. The things that we can do now, fast forward 2 or 3 years from now, and it'll be even more interesting. You know, with what we'll be able to deliver from a customer experience, you know, cost of ownership, and the ability for a retailer to control their domain, the likes of which they've never been able to.
Yep, agreed. It's an exciting horizon.
Indeed.
Okay, last question for the group. How can fuel retailers manage new projects with confidence?
Just buy Dover. Thanks for coming.
Done. Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you.
Thanks for coming,
I'm not
everybody.
sure we can add anything to that.
My God.
Obviously, there's the nice part about it is in our space, there's really we're one of two players, and so I think we're in a unique situation. We're an established brand. The other guy is too. People know us, and they understand that we're basically everything we just said in the last half hour. If I'm a retailer and I want to be able to leverage and take advantage of these technology plays, we're also known to be more of an innovative company too, and we are actually out there providing that type of capability. You could actually, if you start signing up on our stuff and start, you know, hit your wagon to us, I think you're going to be in a much better position when, you know, in terms of I feel good about where my technology path is going to go over the next 5 years.
Yeah. And I mean, since you went there, I'm just going to add on. We listen.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's not just you have a project with us, we're never going to leave you high and dry. We're going to take care of you, and we're there all the way through. And even then, after it's implemented, we're going to continue to be with you on that journey. But even beyond that, we listen to you with our roadmaps. Where are we going with our innovation? We want to create innovative products that provide value to our customers, not just cool features because we can. So
A true partnership.
true partnership.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think you said it great. Fantastic technology merged with amazing partners. So, yeah, let's go.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Well, thank you guys for being with me today. This was fun. Thank you guys.
Thank you.